Hello everybody. It is Thursday, the 26th of December, the second Christmas day. And I'm going to say the same thing again with slight variations, but I don't think I have gotten across how utterly important this question actually is to all of humanity and how it has created this world. Yeah? And how the truth, the argument raged 2,000 years ago, and the truth was actually given 2,000 years ago, and then Paul went and falsified the results of an experiment, actually. Yeah? And we are now running with the wrong idea. And, this falsification, this deception, is leading us into darkness and complete and utter destruction. So I just want to show here how utterly important, that this might be the most important question in the world at the moment. Yeah, it may seem far out there, but it is not, because it's creating a mindset in us, and through us it is creating in this world. And it is really the source at the moment of what is going on in this world. It's not the source of all, but it's definitely the source of what is going on in this world. And I just want to show again how absolutely important this is, I think, for the survival of humanity itself, that we get this right. So, again, the argument that raged 2,000 years ago between the pagan mystery schools and the Judeo and then Christian side. Yeah? That was the question of good and evil. And the Judeo-Christian side said it's all emanating from the same source. It was there from the beginning. Good and bad is both contained within the original source. And out of that thought that so many are running with now, it creates a perception of what it is you're in. And there is that everything has been determined from the start. There is no free will. There's no way of changing anything. You have to accept both good and bad because it's coming from the Creator Himself. Yeah? From the highest God, from the source itself. And there's nothing you can do about it apart from accepting it. Yeah? You can love it, you can hate it, it doesn't matter. It's coming from the same source. Nothing you can do about it. And this is driving people into acceptance, into acquiescence, into, accepting something that is bad as good. Because it was the will of the original source. So that was the argument of the Judeo-Christian side. Whereas the pagan mystery school said, no. What is emanating from the first emanation is pure love. There is no darkness in it. There is no bad in that. Bad comes into being on the level of the created. Yeah? Through ignorance. Through making mistakes. Bad comes into being if we make mistakes. We are creating it. It does not come from the original source. And then you absolutely have self-determination. And yes, you absolutely should seek the knowledge of good and bad to create good, because it's in you. You are the one doing it. So there's nothing determining this from the very beginning. And again, that would create a completely different mindset in the mind of the people. Yeah? something goes wrong, you did something wrong or something else did something wrong and you were affected by that, absolutely possible, but it's not, it's all good, it's all the Creator, it's all love. Anyway, so at that point, I really think what Jesus did, Jesus and his disciples, I don't know how much of it they understood, but they definitely gave their energy to it, trusting on the rabbi, the teacher. But Jesus most certainly, to my mind, most certainly, he did an experiment. Now, the mystery schools, those that went the way of Gnosis, were scientists. They brought knowledge of the unseen, not Newtonian knowledge that we have now, where we measure everything and weigh everything and see what happens in the material world. Theirs was the science of the unseen energies that create the material outcome. Yeah? So he did an experiment that should have and did actually solve that question 2,000 years ago. We had the answer 2,000 years ago. So first of all, what he did is he stood in the truth of a human being and he asked of the Creator. That is the source itself. And he was given. He was given an energy that would actually affect the very fabric of reality itself. It was that strong. Yeah? But as I said, he asked out of the truth of a human being, out of the love of a human being, out of the compassion of a human being, driven by that. And it created healing, feeding, saving, whatever. It was good. And then he started deviating from the truth of a human being toward, and again, he's talking about the Father. Again, make no mistake, we are talking about everything is God, everything is Father. It's all in one word. And again, it must have come out of the thinking of Jesus himself, because he was on the Judea side that everything was the same source. So he did not differentiate. But we were definitely talking about different levels. Whether we're talking about the uncreated source itself or we're talking the level of a being. So if he says the Father in heaven, whose kingdom is not of this world. Again, not of this world means extraterrestrial, means alien. Different words describing the exact same thing. We're not talking about something different. Just different words. So my Father, whose kingdom is not of this world, an alien world, an alien consciousness. So he started deviating from the human point of view toward what he was being told to do by them. But at every step of the way, he made that his truth. Yeah? He changed inside. He absolutely changed inside and he made that other his truth. He worked on himself. So again, he started deviating, especially with Lazarus. That was no longer the fullness of human compassion and love, what he did there. But he was ordered to hold back to let Lazarus die to prove a point afterwards. So that was already a deviation. But what he showed there was that even though he had deviated from the human truth and made something else his truth, make no mistake, he made that his truth, without a shadow of a doubt, being single-minded, single eye all the time. And he showed that he was still given. Lazarus was resurrected, so he was still being given at that point. even though it would no longer have been the fullness of the truth of a human being. And what he clearly showed there, again, that was an experiment, he did it, he produced an outcome that proves the point. And the point that it proves is that in the Father, the highest, the all, there is no judgment. It will give. As long as you stand in the truth of, I know, I have received it. As long as you stand in the knowledge of that truth, I have received it, that is your truth, you will receive. There is no judgment in the all. There's no judgment coming from the source. But the judgment is here. It is in the created being. We are the judges. And we can change what we are from human to increasingly more and more alien. Because that's what Jesus did. And at every point, as long as we have made that our truth, we can ask out of that truth and we will receive. Again, there is absolutely free will. Free will, great power, and responsibility. Because not only can you bring these things into this world, but you will have to live the consequences. Yeah? Great power, with great power comes great responsibility. And nobody will escape the consequences of their actions, whether that be material or spiritual. You will create outcomes, and you will have to live with that outcome. So that's again, this is something he showed. He clearly showed. He did and produced an outcome. There's the proof. Then he went further and further into the alien thinking. And when the alien thinking said you have to have yourself nailed to a cross, he did that. He made that his truth. I say he had to pray very hard to make that his truth, because that is really as far removed from a human truth as you can get. But he did it. He went through that. And then he revealed New Jerusalem. And that is a source of evil in this world. That is against humanity. What it orders is against humanity. What he clearly, again, revealing a truth, the spiritual way, was an alien presence that is influencing humanity. That is what he showed. So that was the outcome, and there are the results in the story. Well, I mean, it's still up to you whether you believe that or not, but that is what it shows. So we had this experiment that Jesus pretty much performed on himself. He was the subject of the experiment, self-experiment, and he brought the knowledge of the results. And then Paul came and falsified the results. And that is where things really went belly up. Because instead of portraying what this story actually shows us, the expanded reality that we're in, that is real, beyond the physical. So it showed us that's real, it can be done, there are actions and there are consequences. And Paul said, follow Jesus to the cross, it is the only way. Now let me just say something before that, and that is because there's a really big irony in all of this. Because if Jesus came from the Judeo-Christian camp, let's say, of the argument, he would have set out to prove that everything originated from the source, because that was their argument. He would have set out to prove that. And what he ended up doing is actually proving the opposite. The outcome showed the pagan mystery schools to be actually right. because the Borg cube, that the New Jerusalem, is obviously on the level of the created. So that we are being influenced by something that is on the level of the created, did not originate from the source itself. Only in a way that everything is source, but they have free will, those in New Jerusalem. They have created their own way, they are influencing others, but that is all playing on the level of the created. So if Jesus set out, which I would say if he was from that camp, he would have set out to prove it was all from the source. He proved the exact opposite, which is a bit ironic. Again, now Paul comes in and he falsifies the result by saying the way of the cross and what was revealed, New Jerusalem, is the only truth. That is God Almighty, that is the source itself, that is the only way, we all must go there. Whereas Jesus beforehand showed other things that we can create, he absolutely showed free will and self-determination. Paul said, no, the meaning of this teaching is there is no self-determination, that is God Almighty, he will rule over us, there is no other way, we must all go there. And that is really completely falsifying the results of, as I would say, a scientific experiment. But we are going by what Paul is teaching. Or Christians, most Christians go by what Paul is teaching. Again, we're back to determinism. Yeah? There is only one. And everything emanates from him. And good is bad and bad is good because it's the will of God and we must all accept that. And yeah, we're back to the beginning. But what Jesus did clearly showed that is not truth. Paul turned the whole thing around and said, yeah, that is truth. It is determined by one. That apparently is sitting in a Borg cube above Jerusalem. And we're all believing that now. And again, but it creates a mindset in the people where they think there is nothing I can do. It was determined either from the source itself or there's something, God Almighty, there that I can't fight against. Either way. And that is what is creating this world. And I mean, again, this idea, first of all, that it is the source itself, and then, obviously, then the Borg cube, that was hammered home as the only truth. Yeah, that was not being spread in love and compassion on the level of an argument. That was brutally hammered home. Anybody who stood against that was murdered. Was executed, brutally, tortured. And I really think that this act, what happened there during that time and then the Middle Ages, it was just, it left a scar. It traumatized us. It traumatized the consciousness, that the united consciousness of humanity. We were traumatized by that. Especially in the Western world. It would have had a great effect. And again, we're being driven into acceptance of that as the only truth through fear. So nothing has changed. So right now, we are in a world where, again, people say, oh, what God would do that. And even by saying that, just saying that, you're accepting that there is a God out there that is doing it. As I said, love it or hate it. But you are in the acceptance of what you see as a truth. There is something there that you can do nothing about. But Jesus showed you the exact opposite. Or we've got people going around, oh, that was just Yahweh. Well, he's a bad character anyway, but there are others. Yeah? And they are good. And they are love. You're still accepting something on the level of the created to rule over you, to be your God Almighty. Yeah? to become the source of all of your knowledge. God will come and they will give you all of their knowledge, and you will become as their children, and you will become like them, and you will have no choice in the matter because they are so much greater than you. It's still the same thing. You're shifting it sideways a little bit, saying, well, not that one, but that one. You're still accepting something that is on the level of the Creator, an alien being, to rule over you. And you make that your truth. It will give it a few generations. They will have forgotten what happened before. It will be their truth. It will be their total perception of what they are and what they're in. It is not the truth. We are what we are. We are as much a part of creation as everything else. We stand in our truth. We will receive, and it will be good. If we ask out of the love and the compassion of a human being, we will receive. We need no God out there. Somehow they put themselves between us and the source. Like we need to go through them. We don't. We can. Jesus showed that. We can do that. We don't have to. We can receive straight up. As I said, that is what the New Testament actually shows. And Paul is teaching something completely different. And most Christians are the followers of Paul, the false prophet, the one that will lead into destruction. So then people said, that's the next thing is coming, not even choose your God, but do you want to follow Jesus or do you want to follow Paul? That's another argument that is starting now. In a way, you cannot follow Jesus. You actually can't. Because he showed you two different possibilities. Yeah? And he showed you that they are both possible. It can be done by us. We are the ones that are doing it. We are the ones that are making the choice which way we are going. But again, he was the one truth. He was the fullness of the one truth, the experience of the one truth and of the other. And if you say, I follow the truth of Jesus, you would have to cut yourself in half and go two different directions. So in a way, you cannot follow Jesus. And to say that he made a choice at some point, but because he chose to go the way toward New Jerusalem, toward the alien presence, and making let their thinking rule over him, become his law, become his reality, come into total agreement with God on the level of being. That God is on the level of being. So he made that choice for himself. But then again, why? Because he actually thought that was good, or because it had to be done to reveal that side of reality? Was that just part of the experiment? His determination was to show, to reveal what was there. And in order to reveal, he had to go that way. He had to become, to see, to know, to experience. So why did he make that choice? It could have been purely, it was part of the experiment and needed to be done in order to reveal that. There was no judgment of good and bad there. Only this is what needs to be done. And he did. So again, follow Jesus actually takes you to a crossroads. And that, I would say, is exactly where at the crossroads that humanity is right now. Go the way of technology, and I would say New Jerusalem is technology. go the way of an alien presence, deny your own humanity, go that way, or stand in the light of the truth of humanity. Love your neighbor as yourself. Be in love and compassion. Hold on to one another. Give to one another in what you know is good as a human being. So that is the crossroads we're at now. But those that follow Paul say, well, there is only one way. There is only one truth. There is only one God. It's all coming from the same source. The source is actually a Borg cube. That is absolutely not what Jesus showed. That is falsifying his truth. So that's why I say it is absolute. This, to even come to the awareness of humanity, that question was there, that it created two different, actually it only created one way, because the way of the Christians destroyed the other, but it doesn't mean the other way wasn't there. It was there at the beginning. There was a crossroads 2,000 years ago, and we were horsewhipped down one road. We must go back, and now we're at the fork again. We need to make a decision. We need to go back to the original argument and see what was actually shown. And then yes, we are absolutely free to make a decision. We have self-determination. There is freedom. There is no judgment from the original source, and it will give one way or another. There's nothing holding us back going into complete destruction if we choose to do so. But we need to be of sound judgment now. And we need to make a decision for ourselves. And for that we need to actually see what the question actually is that we should decide about. Yeah, and it is not whether you follow Jesus or you follow Paul. And it most certainly is not which one of the gods do you choose to rule over you and for the rest of eternity or whatever. There is another question. There's another possibility. We are human beings. We remain human. And we build a world according to our truth. And that we are powerful beings once we stand single-eyed in our own truth. We do need no God to give power to us. Believing on ourselves will also receive. Again, that is something that Jesus clearly showed. And that is what the followers of Paul will absolutely deny. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. I really wish that argument would just come. I'm not saying, for myself, I obviously made a choice which way I want to go. And I tell you something, it's incredible how hard it is to actually stand in your own truth when you have 2,000 years of indoctrination somewhere in your DNA that says you are nothing. It's really overcoming, wrestling your own shadow. That is actually wrestling your own shadow. And it's extremely strong. It will take a while to overcome that false program that is in us. But I think we can do it. But as I say, people, in order to have free will, they need to see what the problem actually is and what the choice is in order to make a free choice. And that's why I wish this would come to awareness so people can make a choice. The truth would actually come out. And that is not telling you must do that, but there is a choice. Where do you want to go? And you are free to make that choice. Anyway, here, I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.